Hello and welcome to Odds on Champions League great final on Saturday, Munich, PSG, Inter Milan, and also in this show we are going to analyze the Conference League final in Wrocław, Betis, Chelsea, and we also have a dream team to analyze these two games. We have Ronan Murphy, we have Alain Valnegri to analyze with us these games, both with a clear favorite, Chelsea and PSG, but this is the year of surprises in the final, so I'm looking forward to listening to Ronan and Alain's tips. So guys, let me know in the comments, who are you backing in these finals? And of course, don't forget, press the like, subscribe, and now let's go on with the show. Well, in this case, we are going to start with the Champions League final on Saturday. PSG Inter. PSG one step closer to the treble, and if football is being optimistic or negative or pessimistic, I guess the hype and the morale is for the Parisians, because at the weekend they won their second title of the year, the Coupe de France. So Luis Enrique is just one step closer to his second treble. It would be the second manager in football history after Guardiola to win two trebles with two different teams. And the opposite for Inter on Friday, they couldn't lift the Scudetto. They beat Como, but also Napoli won against Cagliari. So I guess the mood is not very positive for Inter, and we see PSG favorite for this game, 2.3. In your opinion, Alain, I guess everyone agrees, actually. PSG are the favorites. Are the odds fair, in your opinion?
But probably if we analyze the aesthetic of the football, PSG played the most beautiful football. And Luis Enrique gives some collective tools to the team, and a team necessary to this level is the competitivity. Is the best team in the Qatari era, because if we check the team, this team lose Mbappé the last season. Maybe the people don't have a lot of memory, but every signing of PSG are not more mediatic. No, yeah, there will be thereby player with a strong functionality, and Luis Enrique by a collective mentality. In the both game against Arsenal, you check the winger of the team, 𝗀𝗲𝗿𝗀𝗀, and the another part, 𝗀𝗵cie𝘄. They defend. Is a block. It's difficult to move Paris Saint-Germain. Now, in my opinion, the team can be moved. This team is Inter. Inter is concrete. In Serie A, since February, Inter put the focus about the Champions League. And is a team with experience, is a last call for that era, for that team. Because Inzaghi, in my opinion, he will believe. He believe because in Serie A, he don't do good things. He lose two Scudetti. This year is not Napoli won the Scudetto, it's Inter losing. In how many games Inter suffer comeback from the rival, especially in the second half. And in Champions League, we saw a different spirit. We saw a team with a really high grade of concentration, a team with the capacity to score without creating so many occasions. It's the last game, in my opinion, for Inzaghi era. Inzaghi will believe, independent of the result. If you win, you lose. And for some player, it can be the last final. Is an expert team. You have a lot of older players in this team. And I guess Barcelona, we saw that blood, when you are not the best team, but you are the strength team. And that final, I think it will be a key. It will be a key. I see a really tactical game. Inter feel comfortable when he led the ball to the rival. And I think the first half can be really close, and maybe without 𝗲𝗏𝗀𝗻, we will be seeing both teams observe each other, don't take risk to do the mistake to permit to the other team to win the game. I choose 2 odds for this game. I think Dembélé will be scored because it's his season. Dembélé, I think it should be difficult to see Dembélé play at this level the next season. I am pretty sure because the statistics of Dembélé are amazing. This is the statistics of 𝗀𝗏𝗻𝐴. We must to do that. And I think Dembélé scored odds 2.45 and Inter PSG X at the end of the first half odds 2.88.
Well, Dembélé is also very important, this game for him in the fight with the Ballon d'Or with Lamine Yamal, according to the bookies. And we saw a similar final, I guess, Ronan, a couple of years ago with Inter playing as the underdog with Man City. They lost that final, but they compete. They were really toe-to-toe to a better Man City. I think we put the Man City 2 years ago with this PSG. The Man City would win. But I don't know if you think also like the expertise of Inter could pay at all for PSG in their hunger to lift for the very first time in their history the Champions League.
Yeah, like Alain was saying, these are 2 teams, and I suppose they're 2 very different teams in approach and in makeup, because Inter are an experienced team, an old team. They invested a lot in older players. You look at Onana leaving and Sommer coming in, the way that they've kind of got these bargains of these older experienced players. And PSG, on the other hand, they're very young players. I know some of them cost a lot of money, but they are a younger team, a team that we could see here again and again in years to come. And this PSG team, the way they've played, they've kind of entertained everybody, and they've become fan favourites for people who maybe would have been anti-Qatar or anti, say, the money coming in the past, and they've won a lot of people over with the way they're playing football. But this Inter team obviously have been there before. They've done it. They're looking to win their 4th European Cup, and Inter Italian coaches, we know, are excellent in the European Cup. They have 13 times our European Cup winners, so 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐽 would make it 14 before maybe he goes off to Saudi Arabia himself in the summer. But what we've seen in Munich, I like the omens of the Munich finals in the past. There's been 4 finals in Munich before. Each of those 4 finals has had a first-time winner. Nottingham Forest in the 1970s, Marseille and Dortmund in the 1990s, and then Chelsea back in 2012. So that could play into PSG's hands. And then if you look at the last ever Italian versus French final, that was the 1993 final that Marseille beat AC Milan. So there are some good omens on PSG's side. They become the 24th different winner after Man City, of course, like you mentioned. So yeah, I think PSG, they are such an attacking team. Dembélé has been playing fantastic, like you both said. This is kind of where he needs to be in the Ballon d'Or running. He is a good shout for a goal or an assist, like Alain has said. But if you look at PSG, the way they've set up, like so many different players can score goals for them. They've had 12 different players score in the Champions League this season, which is kind of phenomenal when you think about it. Dembélé obviously has the most of them with 8, but Nuno Mendes has 4, Hakimi, Doué, Ramos and Barcola 3 each. Vitinha and 𝗲𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀 even have 2 each. So this is a team that spreads around the goals, well capable of getting different goals from different places on the pitch, different players on the pitch, different styles of goals they can score. They're not just kind of a one-trick pony that we've seen. But we know Inter are a team that have scored plenty of goals themselves. They've had 9 different goal scorers, but they are mostly a defensive team. So I think for this one, and with Alain saying that it's going to be a cagey enough first half, I think both teams to score could be a good option in the Champions League Cup final, because if you look at the last 6 Champions League finals, all of them have been both teams to score no. 4 of them were 1-0 wins, 2 of them were 2-0 wins. So the Champions League final, although it's the best game in club football, a lot of the time it's not the most entertaining game in club football. Both teams to score no is 210 at the moment. Total goals under 2.5 could be another option. That's 191. And I think PSG are going to win it. I think PSG are going to be the team that lifts the Champions League for the first time this season. So I like the look of tying that in with PSG to win to 0, which is a 4 bet.
Well, in the over-under market is funny enough because it pays basically the same, over and under, around 2.0, so it's really good in my opinion. Also going for the under, since we've been seeing also this season all the finals as under in the Europa League, in the FA Cup, in the 𝗀𝗵𝗏𝗀𝗏 final, for instance, all of them were under 2.5. And it's funny what you said, Alain, how this game arrives in a different moment for both projects. I think it's the start of PSG project without Mbappé in the second year of Luis Enrique, but they are starting to build a new project. And for Inter, is the last chance with Inzaghi. Probably they've had less titles than what they deserve, as you mentioned, after losing this Friday the 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏. And I don't know if, probably also when you are in a build-up to this great game, it's way better arrive with a title like a PSG winning the Coupe de France rather than losing the 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏 when you had it in your hands.
But at the end, the feeling about the era Inzaghi is the Champions League, the color of the feeling of the era Inzaghi. Because if Inzaghi don't win the Champions League, the balance is pretty negative in title analysis. Because after in tactical analysis, Inzaghi bring a lot of things, a lot of new things, a new concept in Italy. Inter played a really modern football with a lot of change of position continually. Inzaghi, we feel the end of Inzaghi. Now, when do you have the best team? Because it's the best squad in Italy. We can't hide about behind that. It's the best squad with more experience. It's the most expensive with the Juventus squad. You have a responsibility to win more titles, especially when they lose the 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏 against Milan. They're losing Bologna a key game. This season the same. They lose a Bologna a key game, but they lose both titles. They lose both titles. Coppa Italia is la Coppa del Nonno. Is the grandfather cup in Italy. The team start to play in semi-final. It's a title with three games. You don't have a meaning like in England or in France or including in Spain or in Germany. And the Champions League, he arrived with a lot of luck because the bracket in this year was easy for Inter to arrive to the final. It was near to win against City. This season the bracket was difficult, and especially in the first part of the Champions League to receive only 1 goal or 2 goals, it was amazing. They are doing a really good Champions League. In Champions League, Inter this season don't disappointed nobody, and this one said about the focus. And I have that theory since Inzaghi is in the bench. Inter depends on the grade of motivation. When Inter is concentrated and Inter play and feel comfortable when they defend in his area, Inter can beat every team. But after when they don't have the grade of the concentration, is not a team with an amazing talent in offensive way. And that way, maybe is the Champions League of Lautaro Martinez. Always he receive a lot of critique because he don't score in the big match, etc., etc. This season is there. He's the key player.
Is he fit, by the way, Alain, because he didn't play in 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏?
Yeah, but that one is 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏. It was a friendly game, Edu. It was a friendly game. Then don't wait, nothing. And maybe it's better because you win the title in 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏 and you go to the party and you lose energy and you arrive tired for the final.
Well, Ronan, for PSG, actually, the Champions League has been really, really tough. They had the worst schedule in the group stages. That's why they finished really at the bottom. It was almost win or die against Man City at the Parc des Princes. And then Luis Enrique mentioned it, that they were playing the Farmers League, as in England they always criticize the French league, but they beat all the English teams in the knockout stages. First Liverpool, number one favorite to win the Champions League, Aston Villa and Arsenal, and probably only suffered in Villa Park because they lost to Liverpool in the first leg, but they were way better than Arne Slot's team at the Parc des Princes.
Yeah, I think maybe that was the time that the players themselves began to believe that they could win the Champions League, even though they lost. They were just so dominant for large parts of the match, and it seemed a case of when they would score, not if they would score. And then somehow they ended up not scoring. But I think Alisson himself came out after that game and said it's the best he's ever played in his career. And yeah, it was one of those games that they were just utterly dominant. And I don't think they're going to be as dominant again, obviously, in the final. And they haven't been as dominant in any game since. But just the fact they could do it against Liverpool, who've been crowned champions of England, and the PSG, they've won the Farmers League, they've won everything in France this season. They're coming into this game at the right moment, the right belief, the right mentality, and like Alain said, a lot of it is on mentality. And we've seen Inter struggle at times since the start of this year. Maybe in the first half of the season it was much better, but since the start of this year, and even before the semi-final, Inzaghi was talking about how the team were tired physically and mentally. So those things kind of add up on such a long season when there's so much to play for. Obviously, they didn't expect to win the league last weekend, but there was still a small chance they could win the league, and that has got to hurt a small bit. Whereas PSG, they've just won the cup. They won the cup convincingly. They are scoring goals against everybody. They're particularly scoring goals against everybody in France. They've scored 3 or more goals in each of the last 3 games they've played. So perfect kind of warm-up. They're coming into this game with the right amount of form, and that ties in earlier to my PSG to win with a clean sheet. But PSG as overall winner of the trophy, 163. So even if it's in extra time or on penalties, it looks pretty good as another option if you're confident that PSG can win this trophy for the first time.
Well, guys, this is it for our analysis for the Champions League. It's pretty clear that Ronan Murphy is going for PSG. I don't have it clear, Alain. Who would you back, PSG or Inter?
I wait a long match, and
extra
for the
time,
quality,
perhaps.
Yeah, for the quality, I prefer thinking PSG is favorite, but for the quantity, for the capacity to suffer, for the experience, Inter of something more.
Well, maybe a 𝗀𝗵𝗏 to score another screamer as he did in the very last minute against Barcelona. Great final. This one, PSG Inter on Saturday, of course, great odds since PSG are the favorites, but still the odds are pretty good. If you trust Luis Enrique's men, as Ronan was saying, to win is over 2, and to leave the trophy is around 1.8, so the odds are very good. And in this show, we want to analyze the other European final on Wednesday in Poland. We have Betis Chelsea. Here we have a clear favorite. This is Chelsea, of course. Odds to win is 1.9. For Betis is the first ever European final. Odds to win on 4.8. And here as well, I would say both teams are on a hype because it's true that Chelsea qualified for the Champions League. It was mandatory for them playing against the Champions League after all the money spent in the last year. But it was crucial also for Maresca to reach this goal. They beat Forest again 1-0 as they beat Man United before that, also 1-0. And Betis, they are winless since they qualified to the conference final. They won't play Champions League next season, but of course they are traveling to Poland, really happy to play in their first ever final. Would you see a surprise, Ronan? Do you give more credit to Betis than the odds, than the bookmakers?
I don't. I'm not going to lie. I don't. I think the achievement in itself is fantastic. And you've spoken already on this show about how teams were ending their droughts and 70 years since trophies and first ever trophies for various teams like Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. But I'm not sure Betis are going to add their name to those teams, unfortunately, this season, because it is a daunting prospect to be facing Chelsea. And for Chelsea, a lot of the time, in the Europa League in the Europa Conference League this season, it seemed like it was easy for them. This was an easy tournament for them, and I think that's what we're going to see a bit more and more. That the teams from the bigger leagues are going to be in these finals now, because you're not getting what you had in the past. The teams dropping down from the better competition into this competition for coming third in the groups, because we have the league phase now, and then you don't have the team coming third in the Champions League, so you don't get Sevilla dropping down into Europa League to win that or whatever. So yeah, we're going to see more and more big teams like Chelsea in a Conference League final, and Chelsea are vastly experienced in finals. They've been to many before. It's their 13th European final. They've won each of the other three European competitions twice each, including the Cup Winners' Cup. So if they win this, they will be the first team to win the Champions League or the European Cup, the UEFA Europa League, and the Conference League and the Cup Winners' Cup. So this would be kind of the icing on the cake for Chelsea. And yeah, if you look at Conference Leagues in the past, they have been kind of tense affairs, with one goal separating the three previous finals. Roma won the first one 1-0, then West Ham 2-1 over Fiorentina, and then Fiorentina lost again by one goal to Olympiacos. It tends to be a tense game, and I think that it's kind of setting up a bit for that with Betis. But will the hype kind of get to him? Will the fact that this is the first final for a lot of these players get to him? And Maresca, will he be able to outfox his previous manager, his previous coach? He called Pellegrini his professional dad in the build up to this one. I thought that was a nice touch, but maybe it's showing that the dad will be outclassed by the son. And this is a one where Chelsea, I think, will be confident. They've travelled to Poland already this season in the Conference League. They've won 3-0 against Legia in that one, and Betis, they've already been in Poland again this season. They lost to Legia. They drew with Białystok earlier this season, so their trips to Poland haven't been great so far. I think this will go against the other finals. Perhaps we'll actually see some goals in this one. I'm hoping for some goals, because Chelsea in the Europa League, or in the Conference League, have been incredible. They've won every game but one in the Conference League. They were averaging 3.2 goals per game. So they just score regardless of which players, whether it's the kids, the reserves, or whoever it is from their gigantic squad. Total goals over 2.5 here could be a good one. 2.05, the opposite to the Champions League as well. I'm going for both teams to score yes in this one. That's 191 as well. I think this should be maybe the most thrilling of the three European finals that we should have this season.
Well, you mentioned the three teams, the previous winners of this conference, Roma, West Ham, and Olympiacos, all also ending their draft in European competitions to win a trophy. And if you want to be optimistic, Alain, if you are a Betis fan, they would be very happy to beat Maresca, Sevillista. He won the Europa League finals with Sevilla, of course. And they had a more difficult conference, especially the semi-finals against Fiorentina, because Chelsea, they played with no one, with all the due respect, in this conference. And of course, they have Isco and Anthony. If you want to be a believer and a Betis fan, of course, you have to highlight those names, Alain. And perhaps also this long-term career of Pellegrini, great manager, great achievements. It would be the cherry on top of the cake of Pellegrini's career.
But if you win this competition, is one of the most winner manager in Betis. Betis, every generation of Betis fans known Betis in second division in Spain. Betis is a drama. Betis is passion. Betis is Sevilla. Betis now await his moment, because when Sevilla won the title, Betis was in second division with bankrupt, with problem with money, but always with the passion. And that one is a big news to watch a Betis to play a European competition. I feel emotion. I am a fan of Fiorentina, but I go with Betis with the art, because it's Andalusia, because it's Sevilla, because it's arte. And I don't think Chelsea is so favorite for this game. Maybe my heart is speaking, and is not my analyst, no, my cold analyst with the statistic, with the squad. No, for this prediction, I want to speak with my heart. And my heart go with Betis. Betis is a little the antithesis of Chelsea, in terms of passion, in terms of fans was always there for the team. This season I was a little disappointed in Liga because I waited something more in the fighting for the champions. The arrival to signing to Anthony changed a lot of things for Betis this season because the team recovered magia and is magical. When do you play with Fornals, with Isco, with Anthony? What do you want? He's welcome to the show. He's welcome to the offensive show. Now, my question is the balance. Is the balance because Maresca knows the Italian football, the Spanish football. Maresca is art of Sevilla team. Maresca was playing with Isco and was trained by Pellegrino in Malaga. And they're known both. And Chelsea, in my opinion, the season is very good because when do you start a season with 55 players with more than 100 doubt, you arrive in Champions in Premier League is a good season for Chelsea. Now, if Chelsea lose the Conference League, it will be changed a little the taste because he was the super favorite for this competition, and they're assumed because they do a clean Conference League until now. But against Betis, there will be suffer. For this game, I choose Betis Chelsea. I choose the double opportunity. 1x odds 2.02 and over 2.75 goals odds 2.14.
Well, people might think, and probably they are correct, that Chelsea is a bigger club than Betis, but Betis put 60,000 supporters every Sunday in their stadium. So they are a huge club with a great mass of supporters. They will travel, of course, to Poland, and they had bad experiences in the past, economical ones, as Alain was saying, but it's a big club. But in Europe, they've always disappointed. Actually, there are two games between these two teams in the Champions League. When Jose Mourinho was training Chelsea, they went to Seville and they lost, actually, 1-0. It was a great memory for Betis fans then. In Stamford Bridge was 4-0 for Chelsea. But there are some head-to-head history between these two teams. This Betis-Chelsea. Well, any other tip you want to highlight? Any other thing you want to say about this game, Ronan?
Yeah, there are two Chelsea ones written down because, like I mentioned earlier, Chelsea are averaging so many goals in the competitions of our 3.2 goals per game. Like I said, Betis 1.6 is pretty good, so that ties into the over 2.5 and the over 2.75 that Alain gave. But like Chelsea winning in 90 minutes at 188. So, yeah, just Chelsea to win or 190, I think you said it was. And Chelsea over 1.5 goals. So, them to score 2 goals themselves, I think in 90 minutes could be a good one at 195. If you think that Chelsea are going to be a team that, despite the heart, I'm going to go for the head here and think that their money rather than their passion is what's going to win it for them. Yeah, so I think Chelsea can score a couple of goals in this match, and hopefully this will be the one final that will really entertain us. I'm hoping the Champions League final will entertain us too, but I'm not expecting the same way as maybe the Conference League can be.
Well, Chelsea, they've struggled away from home in the Premier League, especially they won the last game in Nottingham, which is not easy, but they've struggled away from Stamford Bridge. And Betis delivered against the big teams. They beat Real Madrid. They drew in Barcelona with Flick's men, so they know and they have experienced men like Isco or Anthony. Isco, by the way, just called again by a Spanish manager to play the Nations League semi-final, so another reason to be happy for Isco. Well, guys, this is it. I just want to remind our users that you have available our tipster competitions where you can participate and win some money and also create your own ones in Rivals. Now we have the FIFA World Cup, for instance, and you can create a tipster competition if you want to do so in Rivals. Well, Ronan, Alain, thanks for this great European season, and let's enjoy the finals, even if we don't see great football. I'm sure both finals are going to be better than the Europa League one. I'm sure.
It's not difficult.
It's not difficult. That's why we had already the worst game probably ahead. So everything ahead of us, it will be better. Thanks, Ronan. Thanks, Alain. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.